Selamat datang di program studi pendidikan Profesi Dietisien Universitas Diponegoro, tempat di mana kami mempersiapkan para profesional dietisien yang berkualitas dan berwawasan internasional. Visi kami adalah menjadi program studi dietisien yang bereputasi dan unggul dalam bidang manajemen obesitas dengan berbasis bukti ilmiah di tingkat internasional. Misi kami meliputi berbagai aspek penting. Pertama, kami melaksanakan pendidikan profesi dietisien dengan standar internasional untuk menghasilkan lulusan yang komplit di era digital. Kami juga melakukan penelitian berkelanjutan berskala internasional dalam manajemen obesitas untuk mengembangkan ilmu dan penerapannya di masyarakat. Selain itu, kami melaksanakan pengabdian kepada masyarakat berbasis riset di bidang manajemen obesitas guna meningkatkan derajat kesehatan masyarakat. Profil lulusan kami adalah komplit, komunikator, profesional, leader, entrepreneur, thinker, dan edukator dalam bidang dietetik. Lulusan kami mampu memberikan asuhan gizi secara mandiri, menjadi konselor gizi, menyelia penyelenggaraan makanan, mengembangkan produk alternatif gizi, mengelola program gizi, menjadi advokator dan komunikator program gizi, serta menyelia pendidikan, pelatihan, dan penelitian. Fasilitas kami meliputi ruang kelas modern, ruang meeting, ruang seminar, dan perpustakaan lengkap. Kami juga memiliki laboratorium spesifik seperti Laboratorium Manajemen Obesitas dan Kebugaran, Laboratorium Kuliner dan Dietetic, Laboratorium Penilaian Status Gizi, Laboratorium Ilmu Teknologi Pangan, dan Center of Nutrition Research. Universitas Diponegoro dengan Departemen Ilmu Gizi Fakultas Kedokteran memiliki SDM berkualitas, fokus pada manajemen obesitas dan wahana praktik yang memadai untuk mendukung kekhasan program studi kami. Bergabunglah dengan kami dan jadilah bagian dari perubahan positif di dunia dietetik. Selamat datang di program studi pendidikan Profesi Dietisien Universitas Diponegoro, tempat di mana kami mempersiapkan para profesional dietisien yang berkualitas dan berwawasan internasional. Visi kami adalah menjadi program studi dietisien yang bereputasi dan unggul dalam bidang manajemen obesitas dengan berbasis bukti ilmiah di tingkat internasional. Misi kami meliputi berbagai aspek penting. Pertama, kami melaksanakan pendidikan profesi dietisien dengan standar internasional untuk menghasilkan lulusan yang komplit di era digital. Kami juga melakukan penelitian berkelanjutan berskala internasional dalam manajemen obesitas untuk mengembangkan ilmu dan penerapannya di masyarakat. Selain itu, kami melaksanakan pengabdian kepada masyarakat berbasis riset di bidang manajemen obesitas guna meningkatkan derajat kesehatan masyarakat. Profil lulusan kami adalah komplit, komunikator, profesional, leader, entrepreneur, thinker, dan edukator dalam bidang dietetik. Lulusan kami mampu memberikan asuhan gizi secara mandiri, menjadi konselor gizi, menyelia penyelenggaraan makanan, mengembangkan produk alternatif gizi, mengelola program gizi, menjadi advokator dan komunikator program gizi, serta menyelia pendidikan, pelatihan, dan penelitian. Fasilitas kami meliputi ruang kelas modern, ruang meeting, ruang seminar, dan perpustakaan lengkap. Kami juga memiliki laboratorium spesifik seperti Laboratorium Manajemen Obesitas dan Kebugaran, Laboratorium Kuliner dan Dietetik, Laboratorium Penilaian Status Gizi, Laboratorium Ilmu Teknologi Pangan, dan Center of Nutrition Research. Universitas Diponegoro dengan Departemen Ilmu Gizi Fakultas Kedokteran memiliki SDM berkualitas, fokus pada manajemen obesitas dan wahana praktik yang memadai untuk mendukung kekhasan program studi kami. Bergabunglah dengan kami dan jadilah bagian dari perubahan positif di dunia dietetik. Selamat datang di program studi pendidikan Profesi Dietisien Universitas Diponegoro, tempat di mana kami mempersiapkan para profesional dietisien yang berkualitas dan berwawasan internasional. Visi kami adalah menjadi program studi dietisien yang bereputasi dan unggul dalam bidang manajemen obesitas dengan berbasis bukti ilmiah di tingkat internasional. Misi kami meliputi berbagai aspek penting. Pertama, kami melaksanakan pendidikan profesi dietisien dengan standar internasional untuk menghasilkan lulusan yang komplit di era digital. Kami juga melakukan penelitian berkelanjutan berskala internasional dalam manajemen obesitas untuk mengembangkan ilmu dan penerapannya di masyarakat. Selain itu, kami melaksanakan pengabdian kepada masyarakat berbasis riset di bidang manajemen obesitas guna meningkatkan derajat kesehatan masyarakat. Profil lulusan kami adalah komplit, komunikator, profesional, leader, entrepreneur, thinker, dan edukator dalam bidang dietetik. Lulusan kami mampu memberikan asuhan gizi secara mandiri, menjadi konselor gizi, menyelia penyelenggaraan makanan, mengembangkan produk alternatif gizi, mengelola program gizi, menjadi advokator dan komunikator program gizi, serta menyelia pendidikan, pelatihan, dan penelitian. Fasilitas kami meliputi ruang kelas modern, ruang meeting, ruang seminar, dan perpustakaan lengkap. Kami juga memiliki laboratorium spesifik seperti laboratorium manajemen obesitas dan kebugaran, laboratorium kuliner dan dietetik, laboratorium penilaian status gizi, laboratorium ilmu teknologi pangan, dan Center of Nutrition Research. Universitas Diponegoro dengan Departemen Ilmu Gizi Fakultas Kedokteran memiliki SDM berkualitas, fokus pada manajemen obesitas dan wahana praktik yang memadai untuk mendukung kekhasan program studi kami. Bergabunglah dengan kami dan jadilah bagian dari perubahan positif di dunia dietetik. Selamat datang di program studi pendidikan Profesi Dietisien Universitas Diponegoro, tempat di mana kami mempersiapkan para profesional dietisien yang berkualitas dan berwawasan internasional. Visi kami adalah menjadi program studi dietisien yang bereputasi dan unggul dalam bidang manajemen obesitas dengan berbasis bukti ilmiah di tingkat internasional. Misi kami meliputi berbagai aspek penting. Pertama, kami melaksanakan pendidikan profesi dietisien dengan standar internasional untuk menghasilkan lulusan yang komplit di era digital. Kami juga melakukan penelitian berkelanjutan berskala internasional dalam manajemen obesitas untuk mengembangkan ilmu dan penerapannya di masyarakat. Selain itu, kami melaksanakan pengabdian kepada masyarakat berbasis riset di bidang manajemen obesitas guna meningkatkan derajat kesehatan masyarakat. Profil lulusan kami adalah komplit, komunikator, profesional, leader, entrepreneur, thinker, dan edukator dalam bidang dietetik. Lulusan kami mampu memberikan asuhan gizi secara mandiri, menjadi konselor gizi, menyelia penyelenggaraan makanan, mengembangkan produk alternatif gizi, mengelola program gizi, menjadi advokator dan komunikator program gizi, serta menyelia pendidikan, pelatihan, dan penelitian. Fasilitas kami meliputi ruang kelas modern, ruang meeting, ruang seminar, dan perpustakaan lengkap. Kami juga memiliki laboratorium spesifik seperti laboratorium manajemen obesitas dan kebugaran, laboratorium kuliner dan dietetik, laboratorium penilaian status gizi, laboratorium ilmu teknologi pangan, dan Center of Nutrition Research. Universitas Diponegoro dengan Departemen Ilmu Gizi Fakultas Kedokteran memiliki SDM berkualitas, fokus pada manajemen obesitas dan wahana praktik yang memadai untuk mendukung kekhasan program studi kami. Bergabunglah dengan kami dan jadilah bagian dari perubahan positif di dunia dietetik. Selamat datang di program studi pendidikan Profesi Dietisien Universitas Diponegoro, tempat di mana kami mempersiapkan para profesional dietisien yang berkualitas dan berwawasan internasional. Visi kami adalah menjadi program studi dietitian yang bereputasi dan unggul dalam bidang manajemen obesitas dengan berbasis bukti ilmiah di tingkat internasional. Misi kami meliputi berbagai aspek penting. Pertama, kami melaksanakan pendidikan profesi dietitian dengan standar internasional untuk menghasilkan lulusan yang komplit di era digital. Kami juga melakukan penelitian berkelanjutan berskala internasional dalam manajemen obesitas untuk mengembangkan ilmu dan penerapannya di masyarakat. Selain itu, kami melaksanakan pengabdian kepada masyarakat berbasis riset di bidang manajemen obesitas guna meningkatkan derajat kesehatan masyarakat. Profil lulusan kami adalah komplit, komunikator, profesional, leader, entrepreneur, thinker, dan edukator dalam bidang dietetik. Lulusan kami mampu memberikan asuhan gizi secara mandiri, menjadi konselor gizi, penyelenggaraan makanan, mengembangkan produk alternatif gizi, mengelola program gizi, menjadi advokator dan komunikator program gizi, serta menyeliap pendidikan, pelatihan, dan penelitian. Fasilitas kami meliputi ruang kelas modern, ruang meeting, ruang seminar, dan perpustakaan lengkap. Kami juga memiliki laboratorium spesifik seperti laboratorium manajemen obesitas dan kebugaran, laboratorium
Hello, Sandra.
How are you, Jamala? How are you, Nisa?
Hi Sandra, how are you?
Good, good. Good, good. Nice to see you.
Yes,
Thank you
nice
for
to see you. Always red,
Yeah.
always red.
Oh, yeah.
You look so
It's
pretty.
very cold here. Yeah. Yeah, Anise will know it's very cold. I'm in Melbourne.
Oh, okay. That's very
You're at Melbourne.
Is it in Ghana? You are
I'm on holiday.
Okay.
Wow.
With Mike?
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Nice. I'm at Indonesia right now.
Are you're in
Just that I
Indonesia?
can't see you.
No, I'm down south at the moment. We're visiting friends, so that's why I'm caught on the hop. Nisa, I've got some slides to show. Will I be able to share my screen?
Yeah, of course.
Well, it's not that. I can't see the instructions anymore. I think you're the host, I think. I'll let you know. Do you want me to email them to you and you can put them up?
You're co-host right now?
I'm co-host. All right.
Yes, that's right.
Well, then, if I'm co-host, I should be able to do it. I just can't see. Oh, share. Yeah, there we are.
Yeah.
It's all right. It's all right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so can we start right now?
Yeah, let me just.
Yeah.
So there's oh God, I've got my laptop too. Yeah. Host. Oh, there's the host tools. Okay. I updated my enable when lock meeting high profile. Okay. Oh, okay. Allow. All right. Remove participant. Well, I wouldn't do that.
There's a lot of features that you can do.
Yeah. All right. I'm just going to put my thing on mute.
Okay. Okay.
Okay, can we start now, Nisa?
Yeah, sure. Thank you. Good afternoon, Professor Sandra Capra, Ibu Gemala Anjani, and all of the participants. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Om Swastiastu, Namo Buddhaya, salam kebajikan, salam sejahtera bagi kita semua. Yang terhormat, Ketua Departemen Ilmu Gizi, Fakultas Kedokteran Universitas Diponegoro, Ibu Gemala Anjani, SPMS, PhD,
Yang saya hormati Ketua Program Studi S1 dan Program Studi Dietitian Fakultas Kedokteran Universitas Diponegoro, Bapak Ahmad Syauqi, SKZ MPA, MPH PhD, serta saya ucapkan selamat datang kepada nutrisionis, dietitian, instruktur klinis, mahasiswa S1, S2, alumni, dosen, serta para peserta webinar series The Dietetic Profession Episode 3 Fascinating Insight, The Dietetic Profession in Australia. Puji syukur kita panjatkan kepada Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala karena atas rahmatnya kita dapat berkumpul bersama dalam webinar siang hari ini. Sebelum memulai acara, izinkan saya Khairunisa sebagai moderator webinar hari ini untuk menyampaikan susunan acara sebagai berikut. Yang pertama adalah pembukaan, kedua sambutan yang akan disampaikan oleh Ketua Departemen Ilmu Gizi Fakultas Kedokteran Universitas Diponegoro, Ibu Gemala Anjani, pemaparan materi mengenai profesi dietitian di Australia oleh Emeritus Profesor Sandra Capra, kemudian dilanjutkan dengan diskusi, lalu perkenalan prodi profesi dietitian Fakultas Kedokteran Universitas Diponegoro oleh Bapak Ahmad Syauqi, dilanjutkan dengan diskusi, dan diakhiri dengan penutup. Memasuki acara selanjutnya, yakni sambutan yang akan disampaikan oleh Ketua Departemen Ilmu Gizi Fakultas Kedokteran Universitas Diponegoro kepada Ibu Gemala Anjani, SP, MSc, PhD, kami persilakan.
Okay, thank you, Nisa. Hello. It's very nice to have you back here online. So, Professor Sandra Capra is one of our colleagues who already have a good, like connection with us for about 7 years, Sandra, or 8 years ago. She came here with her lovely husband, Mike, who helped us a lot during their visiting here in Diponegoro University. As you know now, we kind of celebrate, the establishing of our new baby born study program is Profession of Dietitian program. And maybe Sandra still remember that we try so hard to have this, like the study program. So I'm really glad to have you here and sharing about the profession of dietetics in your country. And maybe you can give us motivation or maybe your tips to make it bigger and bigger for our profession of dietetics in Diponegoro University and in Indonesia. And thank you again, and welcome to all the participants to this third webinar that we have. And we will have like 4 times of webinar series. And this is the third time. Maybe enjoy the webinar with Professor Sandra Capra. Thank you very much. Enjoy the webinar.
Terima kasih kepada Ibu Gemala Anjani, SP, MSc, PhD untuk sambutan yang telah diberikan. Selanjutnya kita memasuki sesi pemaparan materi yang akan disampaikan oleh Profesor Capra. Izinkan saya untuk memandu sesi ini dalam bahasa Inggris, namun nanti di akhir sesi akan saya sampaikan ringkasan materi Prof. Sandra Capra dalam bahasa Indonesia. Before we dive in, I'd like to go over a few housekeeping items. Please make sure your microphone is muted to avoid background noise. Feel free to send questions using the link that will be sent in the chat room to ask questions or share comments throughout the presentation. We will have a light Q&A session after Prof. Capra's presentation, including sharing experience in managing patients with obesity. This goes in line with the Dietetics Profession study program, Universitas Diponegoro, that specializes in obesity management. To kick things off, I'm delighted to introduce our esteemed speaker for today's webinar, Emeritus Prof. Sandra Capra. Prof. Sandra Capra received her BSc honor and diploma in nutrition and dietetics from Sydney University, her Master of Social Science from the University of Birmingham and her PhD from the University of Queensland. Prof. Sandra Capra is a professor of nutrition at the University of Queensland, also a professor of allied health research at Royal Brisbane and Women Hospital, concurrent with professor of nutrition at UQ. Before entering academia, Prof. Sandra Capra was a professional practitioner as a clinical dietitian, food service dietitian, dietitian in charge and manager of food and nutrition services in Sydney, Melbourne, Dunedin, New Zealand, and Brisbane. Prof. Capra also received prestigious awards and prizes, including Financial Review Westpac 100 Women of Influence winner in the category of Global Leadership. Other awards include life membership from the Dietitian Association of Australia. Prof. Capra has served on many national policy-making committees, including the Nutrient Reference Value Steering Committee and the Dietary Guidelines Working Party of the National Health and Medical Research Council. Prof. Capra's current leadership is serving as chair of the board of directors of Nutrition and Catering Institute, member of the editorial board of Nutrition Today, executive director of the International Confederation of Dietetic Association Commission on Dietitian, Nutritionist Education and Accreditation. Prof. Capra serves as reviewer research grant application for National Health and Medical Research Council. She also a reviewer for articles submitted to a variety of national and international scholarly journals in the field of nutrition, public health, and medical education, and also reviewer for research grant application for the National Health and Medical Research Council. Prof. Capra has delivered more than 100 invited presentation, plenary, and keynote speeches across Australia and internationally on a variety of dietetics topics. She also has authored or co-authored more than 200 conference abstracts. Prof. Capra has published more than 300 works in the field, including more than 140 peer-reviewed scientific papers, as well as manuals, articles for the general public, and complementary. Prof. Capra has have received so many grants for doing research or program. Latest have received grant for evaluation of the healthier drinks at healthcare facilities, CHQ obesity strategy. Has published handbooks and guidelines, including guidelines for dietetic practice and Australian Dietetics Guide to Good Eating. We are incredibly fortunate to have Professor Sandra Capra to share her insight with us today. Please join me in welcoming Prof. Capra. Thank you so much, Prof. Capra.
So thank you so much for that very kind introduction. And yes, you can see I'm rather mature. So it's obvious I've been around for a long time, and I've been a dietitian now for more than 55 years, or over 50 years. I think it's not quite 55. So I finished my diploma and started practice in 1971. So that's what, 53 years ago. And in that time, dietetics has absolutely changed. But it still relies on the same set of skills and abilities. This is a really, really exciting time for Indonesia and for Diponegoro University to enter the field of dietetics education. So it's great. Now, do you want me to start my presentation now? Yep. Let me just share
Yes, please.
Yep, let me just, now let me, start sharing. Oh, now let me just share screen. I've just lost the share screen business. me just share my. Okay. Why have I not got who can share, host only? All right, how do I do it? How do I share the screen? Let me just look down the bottom here. I had it up before.
Okay,
And
you
then
have
I've
it to me?
lost it. Let me have a look. It's under host tools, isn't it? Share screen. No, that didn't work.
There's a lot of button under,
I
and you
know
can
there is. I've
share.
lost it. I know
Okay.
I've lost it down the bottom. God, this is hopeless. Apps. AI companion. I don't want that. It's under share. So why can't I? There we go. There we are.
Perfect.
Okay. And let me call up my PowerPoint. Let me just move you over. So can you see that? Can you see the
Yes,
PowerPoint
I can
now?
see it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So thanks, everybody. So what I wanted to do, as I said, this is a fantastic time and exciting for Indonesia. Now, while I'm talking about Australia, Australia has changed and the profession has moved forward. So you will be able to jump the decades of development work that was required to get to where we are. My feeling from my many visits to Indonesia is that the opportunities are fantastic and that there needs to be dozens and dozens and dozens more dietitians in Indonesia. You have nowhere near enough dietitians for the population. So we have a very small population and have had to be quite entrepreneurial. So, no. So what my message for today is, let me just move my things up here, is that the profession, despite changes, continues to grow. The profession in my country is very popular with students and universities. It's diversifying, and you can move to a diversified practice straight away. And there's been an increase in opportunity. And again, those opportunities will be there for you as well. So in Australia, and this is not like Indonesia or in fact some of the Asian countries, this is from Dietitians Australia's website about what we do is that dietitians treat a range of conditions. They understand how nutrition affects the body. They provide personal support and help people improve health and well-being. And in this country, there is a difference between dietitians and nutritional health providers, including nutritionists. There is a marked difference. All dietitians in Australia are considered nutritionists, but nutritionists without a dietetics qualification cannot call themselves dietitian. So we think of it as nutrition plus. So you have nutrition first, and then you add dietetics. So while there is some similarities, there are many differences, and many dietitians call themselves nutritionists, which confuses things more. So in Australia, probably 80 or 90% of all people who call themselves nutritionists in sort of the legitimate area are in fact people with dietetics qualifications. So we have a regulation. So dietetics here is not registered. I believe it's not registered in Indonesia either, but it's regulated here. So it's self-regulated, and there is a group who set standards and do self-regulation. So people who've graduated from accredited degrees can become dietitians. If you've studied overseas, there is an examination for overseas qualified dietitians to sit, and if they pass that, they also can be dietitians here. So the credential is about professional development and ethics and standards. Nutrition is not regulated. It is not self-regulated. It's anybody can refer to themselves as a nutritionist. So that's where the difference lies here. So dietitians, what do? They understand, interpret food and nutrition science. They can assess people in terms of nutritional status and needs, advise on diet for people who are in general good health or who have special needs. They can plan and implement and manage nutrition and food programs. They can teach others, they undertake research, and they develop nutrition communications programs and policies. Now, this has basically never changed. This has been the same since I first became a dietitian. What has happened is that the complexity has changed. The way you do the business has changed. That's what's changed, not the tasks, not the skill set. And it has become, if you like, a little harder. So it's a combination of practice and knowledge. And practice is big because dietitians are practical people and they give practical solutions. And you can think of it very much like the difference between psychology and occupational therapists, where the occupational therapists provide practical advice, practical solutions, and psychologists provide more of a counseling style. So we've got this very big practice component that where you develop the skills you need. Now, the workforce. Because in Australia, dietetics is not registered, nobody actually knows the size of the workforce, and it's very difficult to understand the workforce itself. So this is a group of different amounts, given to me. Let me just move this down. I've gone to, oh dear. Now, how did I do that? How did I do that? On my screen. So let me just go back here. Ugh. Now, I have no idea how I did that. Whoops. See, I haven't got a mouse and I'm really sorry.
That's okay.
And I just don't know why.
Do you need to reshare?
I don't know. Yeah, I'm sharing it, but I don't, it's showing,
okay.
It's not showing my slides for some reason. Let me just bring this down. And here we go.
Beautiful.
There we go. So let me just go back. Here we go. Can you see that? Can you see the
Yes, we can see it.
Yes, okay. So the workforce in Australia, as I was saying, I do apologize for that. I haven't got my mouse, I'm using my laptop. No one knows for sure. The first number here is from Dietitians Australia. Their 2021 estimates that there are 15 dietitians per 100,000 population. That's about 4,000 dietitians. In 2023, the New South Wales state government showed that it had 856 nutrition and dietetics personnel in 2021, with a demand expected. They did a lot of modelling with a demand to up to 2040. They needed, this is just the government within New South Wales, where the population's about 6 million, maybe 6 or 7 million. They expected to need 39 to 59 extra staff every year. And the last national report is now 10 years ago. And at the time, there were 2,832 dietitians reported to be working in the whole of Australia. So it's a bit unclear. This one here, this is supposedly sourced nutrition industry growth. This is rubbish. It shows a long-term trend going up, and it's suggesting that there are nearly 7,000 workers in the field, and no one believes that is not true. But what has happened is that there has been a move. There are more people in the private sector now employed compared to the public sector. And so that public sector number I just showed you was much lower. So we did some work about 10 years ago that showed that the private sector went from about 1 in 6 to 1 in 3. And that has continued to rise. The private membership base is, you don't have to be a member of the Dietitians Association. So therefore, their numbers don't always match what we're doing. Now, there was a survey of all graduates of the 2020 cohort, Australia and New Zealand. Now, they got about half responding to the survey. And what happened is, you see, this was the number who were employed. 30% was in private practice in the first year after graduation, with only 18, 19, 20% in hospital work, 8% in the community, 4% public health, 3% research, sports nutrition, aged care. These were straight after graduation, 4 months after they finished university. So again, it shows a change in where people work. So let's talk about the big issues. Now, here, growing and advancing the profession, we need to be solutions driven, and we need to provide solutions that the society want. So we want to think about global issues and act locally. And the public is very different now to when I first started to practice. We have to grow the evidence base, and that evidence base must be about showing outcomes that the public wants. And we have here a need to show what's called a value proposition. That is, you need to show value for money, because money has reduced, and you have to say, if you spend $1,000 on dietetics, you will get $1,500 worth of value for that money, every dollar you put in. And we used to be able to do that when we had particular funding models. We could prove, if you gave us money to employ dietitians, we could find people with malnutrition, treat that in hospital, get them as comorbidities, and it was more valuable to the organization than not having dietitians. We could actually generate money for dietitians. So again, while dietitians initially in the 1930s, 1940s, 1950s worked almost entirely in hospitals, that is no longer the case. So we've got a range of new places. So what do dietitians do? They do patient care, which is what you might expect, part of the healthcare team, hospitals, nursing home, assessing nutrients needs, planning diets, and providing education for patients and families. Do food service management, nutrition service management, using management skills, managing nutrition services, food services. And as you heard, before I entered academia, I was in charge at a 1,200-bed hospital running both the food services and the nutrition services at that hospital. We work in community nutrition, public health, nutrition, health education programs, can be local, can be national, can be government, can be non-government. Non-government are things like National Heart Foundation, Diabetes Australia, Dietitians Australia, health planning, nutrition policy. And then you see this now, consultancy and private practice has been around since the 1970s, but it's now this bigger component. And that can be seeing private patients, but it can also be running group programs, working in the media, and working in public relations. So a lot of online businesses. Now, we also have a group who work directly with the food industry, and they interpret food law, they translate science, they work as nutrition communicators, telling people about those particular products. They can do product development, nutrition research, marketing, public relations. The big area of growth is in research. So we've got the need to develop a real clear knowledge of what works, what should we be doing, how much it takes, what kind of dose, if you wish, of dietetics you need. But in Australia, about half the people with dietetics qualifications do not work in one of the more traditional areas. They work in related fields, program management. They might run nursing homes, for example, public relations, marketing, communication, media, policy development, health promotion, information technology. Our big nutrient database has all been developed by dietitians, or they work for professional associations and the like. So those kinds of things, they're not classified as dietetics, but you can't do those without the dietetics qualifications. So opportunity is in every direction, and it's about spotting those opportunities and working on them. So the Sustainable Development Goals, if you look at these, being poor limits your ability to access adequate food, dietitian. Food security are cornerstones, nutrition, dietitian. Deaths in children caused by undernutrition, dietitian. Learning and focusing in school is difficult without a sufficient diet, dietitians. When women control the family, children's health and nutrition will improve at a greater rate, not dietetics. Access to safe water and sanitation, not dietetics. High levels of malnutrition may result in loss to GDP, dietetics. Tackling resource use and degradation for sharing resources, improving access to quality food, dietitian role. Climate change, reducing food productivity, dietitian. Threaten our ability, soil degradation to grow food, dietitians can work there. You can see, look at it. There's opportunities across these for dietitians. We also have the non-communicable diseases. You talked before about obesity. We've got major obesity, as you would know. So 2/3 of our adult population are overweight or obese, but the obese is about 25%. So the burden will worsen. 6 out of 7 deaths in Europe are supposed to be related to chronic disease. They're chomping up. 10 years ago, they were taking 2 or 6% of healthcare costs, and we can do something about that. Opportunity. building research capacity in dietetics. We think research is an opportunity and that everybody should be doing research as part of their role. It's harder if you work for yourself, but in the public sector, the expectation would be in our big public hospitals to be building our research capacity, undertaking research. Now, what has also happened is that there's been a change in focus. So it used to be acute care, but people stay in hospital in this country for 2 to 3 days, maybe 4 days, but they don't stay for weeks. We no longer see patients going into hospital for a workup prior to surgery. What we have seen, though, is this great move in the focus. So at the present time, aged care is very topical in this country. The government is pouring billions of dollars into aged care, and they're trying to manage particularly the food services in aged care, and have dietitians have increased their role and visibility. It's been fantastic. Same with mental health following COVID, same with disability services. But advocacy, we never used to say anything. We now are very loud and try to get advocacy. We are now involved in policy, looking at linking issues within the food chain to make sure supply issues. Australia's a very large country and has, where I live in Queensland, there's the distance between the major city and the rural areas can be 1,500 kilometres. Getting the fresh food to the far, particularly Indigenous communities, is very difficult. But we've seen lifestyle coaching as a new area and much, much, much stronger links with exercise. These are changes that were never, aged care was there when I was a new graduate, but none of these others. COVID has disrupted our health system. There's been a reorientation of healthcare systems. There's been rationing. There was a lot of economic damage, which has not yet been fixed. A lot of mental health issues rising. Change in some countries, people have changed what they spend their money on. But in Australia, there has been an enormous increase in online activity and a reduced use of face-to-face activities. That has been both problematic, but it has allowed the development of online businesses, which have been, there have been quite a few of really good online businesses. But it has also changed the way we offer education. And we've got some universities, no more lectures. Everything is partly online with seminars and the like. It's changed the way students approach their education. It has been a major, major disruptor. Increased food insecurity, and it has reduced in Australia, it reduced physical activity and increased obesity. We have what we call COVID kilos, which is the weight gain that was caused by being not being allowed to go out and doing as much. And then people didn't resume their activities. We've also had other drivers changing the way we practice. Climate change has changed some of the food supply. Changes in scientific knowledge. We've gone from, we don't tend to focus on vitamins and the like anymore, and have moved towards bioactives, but we have seen changes in disease patterns. The idea of a pandemic has really scared many people here. We've gone for epigenetics, genomics, nutrigenomics, and in the medical nutrition therapy, it's moved very much back towards personalized nutrition and not a one-size-fits-all type of message. Now, what has also happened, though, is the burden of proof has got harder. So science, we no longer go, well, I usually do it like this and it's always worked, so therefore I will continue to do that. and there's been a requirement to use very much more increasing proof standards for proof. And at the moment, as you would know, we have AI. And AI, people can look up anything about diet. There's access for information for all. And what that does is you have to offer more than that in practice. You have to offer the personalized approach in practice to manage that. So what we also have seen, length of stay, reducing, it's down to like more of 60% of patients in acute care stay only a day. However, the average length of stay for anybody who goes into hospital with malnutrition is still much higher, usually double. But we have moved to doing outcomes. So again, when I first was a practitioner, we saw the patients. We didn't really care if what we told them was implemented or if it made a difference. And that has changed. It's no longer good use of resources and money to not get an outcome. Globalization, our competitors in the private sector can be anywhere in the world because they're offering online services from, for example, Canada or the United States. We have outsourcing for central production units for food service as very, very common food production units where food is made centrally in a location, and then you have to manage that food in your facility. We have different ways of buying services. So in the private sector, the private hospital might buy services from a private practitioner. So there's been a whole lot of different ways of doing business, which means the way you have to practice. But dietitians have also become entrepreneurial. And I heard that you're going to teach, I can't obviously understand the language, but I did understand entrepreneur and leader. And by being entrepreneurial and a leader, you can take advantage of these changes in the environment. You can be, we like to be the reformers, not the reformed, to think ahead and change practice before somebody does something to us. Being on top of these big issues and the trends, and developing that skills and knowledge to meet these changes. There's been a big increase in research and development as a result of, we need to prove that what we do is effective. And being what's called political, that is, forming coalitions of interests with people, whether it's other allied health professionals, whether it's whoever, to work with, to make the most of these opportunities. And what has happened is we're having well-placed dietitians in government agencies and, in fact, in universities to have, we now have professors of dietetics all over the country. I was the first professor of dietetics in Australia. And I mean, that was not that long ago. So, like being able to make the most of these things. COVID has actually been an opportunity. In our country, scientists were taken seriously. It was amazing. People with the science background were suddenly seen to know stuff, whereas previously, you were thought of as being a little bit impractical. We've had a rekindled interest in nutrition science because COVID, stimulated people looking for solutions, provided lots of new ways of working. Health workers were seen to be essential, important, the backbone, save the society, all of those things. And the Dietitians Association here has changed some of the standards of practice to allow more variation in practice and locations during the training programs. All of those things have provided more opportunities and made and re-energized the profession. So we do lots of advocacy. but it's not the same everywhere. We're always looking for the ways to promote dietitians in aged care. The advocacy for dietetics has been fantastic. A lot of things empowering people to actually do things, supporting members of the profession who are doing something unusual, providing confidence, letting people do something that's a little bit different. Now, so what has also happened is that we've seen this increase in the dietetics, though, to manage all of this. The skill set's the same, but I actually believe you need more. You need more depth and more depth of everything. So when you're doing your new curriculum, you need high levels of knowledge in these fields, but you also need to be broader, which is a big challenge. So, so again, when I was trained, I only had to focus on hospital type work, whereas now you have to be able to do lots of different things. And these are the areas: epidemiology, statistics, food science, management, practice, research. These have increased across the profession. And again, you're very well placed. So just looking at the trends, you can see what we're seeing, even though we haven't got precise numbers. We're seeing this decreasing proportion of dietitians in hospital practice. Indonesia, though, if you don't have lots of dietitians, they're probably best placed in the initial field in hospitals. So the profession here went from being hospital only to hospital and some private practice to being then expanding out. So we've got increasing numbers in private practice, in the food industry, in education, like in the university sector, but we have many more in part-time employment. We have a maturing age structure, and we're seeing a decrease in technical support. So we have fewer nutrition assistants and diet aides than we used to have. So again, that means that dietitians have either got to find new ways of working or do something better. So this is an example of a big private agency, Healthcare Australia, who runs, they work across aged care. So it's a private business running across a disability and aged care, who employ dietitians, and so you work for them, and they then, if you like, offer your services to people with in the disability or aged care. So I've just got a couple more, but I just thought I'd show you a couple of examples of things that I've done in recent times, even though I'm retired, on some of these new areas. So this is one where we've been working and trying to get food fortification into aged care. So what we find here is people start it and then stop. So this was a PhD. And again, to do this, to understand how to manage within aged care, you need to understand research, you need to be able to use research strategies, you need to be able to translate research into practice. What does it mean on the ground? And you need to understand the funding of the system so that you can apply research findings. We do pragmatic research because we know that non-pragmatic research doesn't tend to translate well into the environment, if you wish. So we've been working on governance and advocacy as well. So within Queensland, there's a pediatric obesity working group. Championed, the dietitians took the leadership role in the state network jointly. The dietitian and the medical officer took the lead roles. They were champions, looking overseas, what would work, looking for grants and the like. And this led to integrated approach for tackling childhood overweight and obesity in Queensland, and the model of care. So developing a new model of care that is like the new pediatric dietetics, if you wish. And just looking at another one, we did it was also on pediatric obesity. We were looking at trying to get referrals into the system faster, that children who are obese weren't being referred till they were grossly obese, and it was very difficult. So we had a multidisciplinary weight management service. This was a research project. So they were running the clinic, and it was set up as a research clinic. So very, very useful to decide what we should be doing, finding where were the pinch points in the system. So just have like thinking about this and think about Indonesia. Dietetics has changed. It has really changed over my career. It has matured and developed. And it's up to each country to try to work out which bits are the most important, if you wish. Dietetics is broader than ever before, but still the underlying knowledge and skill set is the same. Sports, we had a thing where sports nutrition really grew. Sports dietetics was really growing very fast. That is now leveled off. Currently, aged care is growing very fast. It will also level. It's about all these opportunities. They come, they expand, and despite all these changes and people saying it'll be gone, that's not true. It's being entrepreneurial and developing these value proposition, proving efficacy. That's the stuff that's helped. And so, exciting times for you because you're at this beginnings phase, and it's what you make it. So thank you for that, and I'll stop sharing.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you so much, Prof. Sandra Capra.
Sorry about that little glitch in the middle with my
That's
losing.
okay. Okay. Thank you so much for that enlightening presentation, and it is fascinating to hear about the dietetics profession in Australia and your recent research in obesity management. And it is very interesting that the trend in Australia is to decrease the number of dietitians in hospital and increase them in the private sector. Wow, that's you have the data. Yeah.
Well, if I could just jump in there, it's not that the number has gone down, it's the proportion has gone
proportion.
down.
Oh.
So the proportion, and it's to do with the acute care is not where you make lifestyle changes. That has gone to community care in the public sector, or it's gone to the private sector.
Oh.
And so the proportion of the total number has gone down, which I think in Indonesia you would need to start with a much higher proportion in the hospital sector, while the others mature. It's about maturity of the sectors. Yep.
Yeah. Thank you very much for your explanation. And we also have the chief of the Indonesian Dietitians Association, Ibu Fitri Hudayani.
Hi, Vanessa.
And Ibu Fitri, are you joining us today?
Yes, Vanessa.
Yes, and she's the president of the Indonesian Dietitian Association, Ibu Fitri Hudayani. It's very honored for us to have you here also. And please, we can talk about the difference between dietitian in Australia, and which are already explained by Professor Sandra Capra, and you might want to share a little bit about a dietitian in Indonesia.
Yeah. Hi, Professor Sandra. Nice to meet you again. we met in Bandung, maybe before pandemic, I think. In Indonesia, dietitian has grown, but the proportion is almost in hospital and just a little bit in private clinic. Yeah, only that, Mbak Nisa. We hasn't grown in community dietetic maybe.
Yeah, and Ibu Fitri also the chief of nutrition installation in the biggest hospital in Indonesia, Cipto Mangunkusumo General Hospital in Jakarta. So nice to have you here, Ibu Fitri.
Thank you, Mbak Nisa.
And we also have Ibu Sunarti from Council. Okay, I think she's quite busy right now. But thank you very much, Prof. Sandra Capra, for sharing your experience. Okay, and now we have some time for question. So this is from Reva Permata Putri from Poltekkes TNI AU, Adi Sucipto, Yogyakarta. Do you think the role of nutritionists in society is important?
If by nutritionists you mean people with nutrition without dietetics, the answer is yes. Now, traditionally, in our types of countries, the nutritionists used to work with particularly mothers, maternal health and child health, and used to manage issues to do with like feeding of children and the like. And that was particularly, or helping people with food preparation techniques and for the well population. As the issues that relate to undernutrition and that has changed, and it's changed in Australia, don't tend to have, we don't see vitamin deficiencies and that anymore here. It's moved to being much more disease focused, which has then moved it towards dietetics. But internationally, there's really no difference between the two. This is a very challenging issue. So you would know I was president of the International Confederation for many, many years, and trying to manage the issues of the terminology. It's about the tasks that people do. One of the difficulties is, though, if you have your adult population with a lot of diabetes, for example, if you've never studied medical nutrition therapy, it's very difficult to run general programs for those sorts of things. Whereas feeding of the well population is not an issue. So it depends on what your population looks like, if you know if that makes sense. I don't think I explained that very well, but it really depends on. The other thing that happens is if you do not have many dietitians, the work tends to be cut up. And so, for example, many decades ago, I was a senior clinician for a health service, and there was me and one other for a population of a city. And I used my support staff, who were, we used to call them food service supervisors, to run all the weight management. So because it didn't require at that time, it didn't require any of the medical nutrition therapy components per se. So the nutritionist ran the weight management, nutrition person, and I did the diabetes, the renal disease, and those kinds of things. So it depends on what your workforce looks like. It depends what your population looks like. It depends what the nutrition issues look like.
So the nutritionists have the course of the MNT now in Australia?
No.
Okay. So only for
Dietitians
the
the thing is, public health nutritionists in this country are like, there are none that aren't dietitians that I know of. That's not to say that there are from time to time, but the vast majority, which means they have the medical nutrition therapy. That means, and what they argue is that they're doing population-based work, not individual work. So that's a different, if you've got no medical nutrition therapy training, it's extremely difficult to give correct group advice about any group, such as people with cardiac disease, people with diabetes. And even with obesity, the issue is the mental health components of it, or people with cancer, as you're working on. It's about the whole issue with obesity is that it's so complex that it's just not a matter of telling people to eat less. It's just in Western countries, it's an incredibly complex topic.
So they need to tackle by the team.
Mm.
Okay.
Mm.
Collaboration is the must.
Mm.
Okay. Thank you very much. Do we have
Good
another question? Okay, it's from Triani and Tisa. The question is, what about specialist dietitian in Australia? What types are there and how long does it take to learn? And the second one is, do nutritionists in Australia have clinical authority, received a registration certificate and practice permit? And the third one is, what is the difference between the work done by dietitians and nutritionists?
Yeah, and the nutritionists. Oh, nothing like tough questions. Okay. So dietitians here don't I call myself a specialist generalist. So I've got advanced degrees in management, I've got advanced degrees in research and the like. And I'm a fellow grade, which is, the highest grade of recognition. Now we have APD, which is accredited practicing dietitian. We have advanced APDs. Now, an advanced APD is a person with a minimum of, I think it's 5 years, but they have to prove a case of why their practice is advanced. Now, they may also be credentialed diabetes educators. They may also be credentialed pediatric dietitians. They might be a credentialed sports dietitian, sports nutritionist, sport dietitian, which there is a training. Some of these are graduate certificates. Some of them are offered by hospitals, for example, as advanced training. But there has never been, the issue has always been, if I'm a specialist if I'm a specialist pediatric dietitian, am I credentialed to give advice to an adult? So it's about that gray area. But if you look at countries like the United Kingdom, they are based on portfolios of evidence. And in Australia, the advanced credential is based on a portfolio of evidence of the things that you do. And you have to show leadership, and you have to show that people look to you for advice in the field. That's the specialist. Nutritionists do not have clinical authority. Dietitians do. So hospitals don't employ nutritionists. They only employ dietitians. If there is a person who is a nutrition qualified person and they're working in a hospital, they'll be working as a nutrition assistant or a diet aide, are their support staff for dietitians. So they have no clinical authority. Dietitians do. So dietitians are autonomous and can make decisions and sign for. We also have dietitians who have been certified to provide or dispense change diabetes medications, and who can dispense enzyme supplements for people with, say, celiac disease, gut disease. That we have a few dietitians who are credentialed to insert nasogastric tubes and the like, but they have been verified as having the skill. So that's what that one is. And then as I say, the work between dietitians and nutritionists, some is just semantic. So dietitians who work in the community and public health sector will often call themselves nutritionists rather than dietitians. And there's actually no difference in that. But in terms in the private sector, to get paid under our medical insurances, you need to be a dietitian. So if you want refunds from the medical insurance systems, you have to be a dietitian. If that makes sense. Okay.
Yeah, so dietitians have a lot to offer than nutritionists in Australia.
Well, a dietitian is a nutritionist plus. As I said, that's what it is. You have the nutrition qualification degrees, and then you have the dietetics in addition.
Thank you very much, Professor. Do we have another question? From Tisa. What is the role of dietitians in Australia related to mental health issues?
Excellent.
It seems like mental health issue is one of the focus for dietitians in Australia.
Okay. Yes. Yeah. So, and the association has in the past offered training for dietitians to work with mental health. And at the University of Queensland, we used to send our students into the mental health services to work with people. Now, what do they do? Now, many of the psychotropic drugs cause weight gain. And in fact, for some of the young people, they wouldn't take their drugs because they didn't want the weight gain. So some of the stuff is about weight management and with the drugs. Some of it is about eating well, generally, that we found young people who wouldn't touch fruits or vegetables. Their mental health issues were such that the depression or their mental state was such they did not eat properly, or they ate inappropriate foods, if you like, looking for some of the highs you get with some of the poor quality foods. That was one lot. Then there are issues to do with there's a lot of evidence about particular nutrients and certain mental health conditions as well. So, it used to be that people said, there was no role for food nutrition with mental health issues. That is no longer thought to be the case. You would possibly be aware that in this country, we have high levels of diagnosed attention deficit disorder, hyperactivity disorder, ADHD. And there are some issues around how to manage that, I guess, and how to eat properly and manage the behaviors. Then at the other end of the life spectrum, we have dementia, and dementia is on the rise, and Alzheimer's disease is on the rise. And in dementia, there are malnutrition for people with severe dementia. Malnutrition runs at about 90%, 95%. People with dementia often don't remember what they've eaten or there's a whole lot of stuff. So in the aged care sector, a lot of the medical nutrition therapy, if you wish, relates to the mental health issues with dementia. So it's not a single thing. But it's growing.
Okay, thank you, Prof. Sandra. And do you have another question? From Ainun. In your work with the International Confederation of Dietetic Association, what best practices did you observe in international dietetic education that students should be aware of? And what international career pathway exists for dietetics graduate, and how can students position themselves for these roles?
Okay. God, these questions are really good.
Really tough.
These are tough, but that's good. Okay. So we tried to, what has happened internationally is that worldwide, there has been a fantastic trend towards degree status for all dietitians. And there has been, you may or may not be aware that 20 years ago, not everybody in the world had a degree program for dietetics, and Indonesia would have been one of those countries. And some countries had no professional practice as part of the degree or an internship requirement post-degree, meaning that people had a theory training, no practice to go into a practical profession. And internationally, that is all gone. What I have been working on is competency-based education and looking at competency standards with the idea that you should assess competence rather than theory knowledge, if you like, or just knowledge exams. And that has been challenging. So worldwide, the use of competencies is variable, but that is the trend. That is what needs to happen, if you wish, that people need to be deemed to be competent. I'm currently working with a country to help them devise their own competency standards. We're trying to, they're doing it internally, but I'm trying to give some advice and mentoring the association's members who are trying to work on what their competency should look like. And that is, of course, how you get a much more uniform, if you like a minimum set that every dietitian in the country can do this A, B, C, D. So that is really the best, I would say, is the best practice component there. In terms of international movement of dietitians, this is one of the challenges. So in areas where you've got agreement, for example, Europe, they have an agreement that people can move between countries, provided they have a common set of standards across the European Federation. And they have so provided you can speak the language, you can move. They have common competencies, common standards, common agreements, and common length of education for the bigger countries. But a lot of countries have registration and have limits on internationals and movement. The thing that's not unique about dietetics, but which is particular, is you must understand the dietary patterns and the food ways and how people cook food and how people prepare food. So it's not just knowing about protein or vitamins, it's this other stuff about the interpretation of that into foods for the person. That is a really limiting issue. So some parts of the world movement's easy, other parts of the world movement is not. What students need to do is, I think, get the maximize their opportunities, get the best, the broadest, like the best education, and be clear what they're learning, and try to maximize their practice opportunities. If you do all your practice, your professional practice to get your degree in one ward of one hospital, in one city, in one town, in one country, what you learn is very narrow. If you do that practice in 6 different facilities, in 6 different types of you learn more. You learn more in the same time, and that allows you to position it. I'd look to the, I think students need a taste of various types of dietetics practice to see what suits them. You know, hospital work does not suit everybody. Food service management does not suit everybody. Public speaking does not suit everybody, but you don't know that till you try it. And you think about it. How did sports dietetics get going? Sports nutrition. Somebody was interested and said, can I do a bit of prac in sports? And you go, why not? You know, how do you know you're going to like aged care if you've never experienced it? I think for dietetics graduates, they have to sort of get a bit of a feel for the area that interests them, and if they do well. Even in countries which have a lot of credentialing issues like Australia, you can work as a nutritionist regardless, but you won't get a hospital job. You'd only get a support job in a hospital. But there is work else which does not require, that requires the skill base, but not the credential. Does that make sense? You can work in the food industry because of your skill base, but they don't require the credential because you're not getting insurances on individual liability.
That's pretty clear.
I'm always
So-
asked that, by the way. Everywhere I go, people ask, how can I move? And I go, it's tricky, but it's not impossible.
Yeah, but still, they need to experience more
Correct.
to know what field they love, what field they want to pursue.
You also need to know what you know. You also need to know what you're competent in, and what you can do. Do you know what I mean? To sell yourself, you need to say, I have been assessed as competent in interviewing, in counseling, in devising MNT plans, in program development, in like, you need to say, I have been assessed as competent in these areas.
Yeah,
Mm.
that's right. Thank you so much, Professor. And there is a final question. So, from Ibu Sunarti, how about the role of Nutrition Council in Australia? Are they make regulations that concern to dietetic practice in public health sector?
There is no Nutrition Council in Australia. There's no central body. So dietetics is self-regulated. The Dietitians Association is self-regulated. There is a nutrition society, which is a professional body for particularly nutrition scientists, although large numbers of dietitians are members of the nutrition society, like the majority of their members are nutrition. There is the Health and Medical Research Council, which sets policy on things like the nutrient reference values, the dietary guidelines. That's and that's another group. Then there is an Academy of Science, which is a learned society, and it has made a decadal plan for nutrition. That is, it's made up of senior researchers, they're usually academics in the Academy of Science, but they can't make regulations. Aged care is under a commission. It's very, I guess basically it's very fragmented. and that has been part of difficulties in getting things going. Each state health department can't really, it doesn't really regulate. Now in the public health sector, no, I can't think of any specific regulations other than if you want the public hospital sector likes dietitians with the APD credential because that resolves issues of ethics. There's a complaints procedure and it has professional development requirements within it, but that's not regulating the practice.
Thank you so much, Prof. Sandra. We have Ibu Sunarti here on the Zoom. Open camera. Hi, Ibu Sunarti.
Hi, Sandra Capra.
Hi, how are you?
I'm in International Council in Indonesia here, so I asked you about it. I'm sorry.
Oh yeah, okay. Are you referring to anything specific?
What? Excuse me.
Are you referring to any specific body in Australia?
Yeah, no.
No, okay, because it's true that over time,
Okay.
the government, like I used to serve on a thing called the Food and Nutrition Committee of the government, and then we were all sacked. Like the government said, we don't need this, and then it all went again. And then there was a national public health partnership, which was running the public health nutrition national campaigns. Then it was disbanded. It just depends on the politics of the day.
I see.
And that's why now there's a lot of advocacy to try to get more, what's the word for it, more centralized. There's a little bit of centralized control in aged care at the moment, and dietitians are key in that. It's called a commission, but it's enforcing regulations.
I see.
But no.
Okay, I see.
Yeah,
Mrs.
yeah.
Sandra Capra. Thank you for your information. It's worth it for us.
Thank
Still
you.
studying about make regulations here for dietetic
Yep.
practice, especially for practice standard.
Yes. The
Okay.
practice standards are set
Okay.
by association.
Yeah.
So that's typical. So the UK has practice standards, which their registration body sets,
Yeah.
but it's set by a committee of the association that's acting for the registration body, and they set practice standards. Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Thank you, Sandra Capra. Thank you.
Thank
Mr.
you. Thank you very much, Prof. Sandra and Ibu Sunarti. Okay, and thank you very much for these engaging questions. It's quite take your energy a lot. Take us energy a lot. Thank you so much. It means that we still in the process of learning, and hopefully we could make dietitian and nutritionists in Indonesia stronger and bigger. So at this moment, can we have a photo session? Like everyone, please open the camera so that we could have a photo session. Okay. So baik, saya akan menghitung dengan bahasa Indonesia. Ada 4 layar di sini. There's 4 pages here. We would like to have some picture, one of each. Yang pertama, siapkan senyum terbaik. Please put your big smile on the screen. 1, 2, 3. Cheers. Okay, the second pages. Please open the camera. 1, 2, 3. Cheese. And the third. 1, 2, 3. Cheese. And the last one. 1, 2, 3. Cheese. Okay, thank you very much for all the support. At this point, we would like to take a moment to express our gratitude to our distinguished speaker, Prof. Capra. Prof. Capra has shared new perspective on the dietetics profession in Australia. It is my honor to present a certificate of appreciation. Yeah, we still wait for the certificate to be put on the screen. Thank you so much, Professor Capra, for your support to this event.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me. And anytime you think I can help any of you, please reach out to me. And you know, I really enjoy seeing the profession moving ahead, and it is a wonderful development in Indonesia. I mean, the more people there are, the better it is, and then the opportunities open up. So it's excellent.
Thank you
so
very much. Please a round of applause for Professor Sandra Capra. I miss you.
Oh, yeah. Well, I'll love you and leave you, as we say. So good evening to all of you, and the very, very, very best wishes to everyone and to the profession.
Thank you very much, Professor.
Thank you so much.
And we look forward to opportunity to collaborate with you in the future.
Thank you.
And if Professor Capra has another agenda, feel free to jump to your next schedule. Thank you very
Thank you
much.
so much. Okay.
Bye. Baik, sesi selanjutnya yaitu perkenalan prodi baru kami, yakni prodi Profesi Dietitian FK Undip yang akan disampaikan oleh Bapak Ahmad Syauqi, SGZ MPH PhD. Kepada Bapak Ahmad Syauqi, SGZ MPH PhD, kami persilahkan.
Ya, thank you, Miss Nisa.
Oke, terima
Ya.
kasih. Silahkan untuk memberikan informasi tentang program studi.
Ya baik, terima kasih Bu Nisa atas waktunya ya. Terima kasih juga ini senior-senior kita hadir di sini ya. Bu Ketua ya, Bu Fitri, ada Bu Triani, Bu Sunarti ya, Pak Pujo juga tadi ya, Pak Pujo, dan Bapak Ibu yang lain ya. Terima kasih sudah gabung. Saya mohon izin share screen ya Bu Nisa. Ya baik, Bapak Ibu, ini adalah webinar yang ketiga ya, ketiga dari kami program studi Profesi Dietitian Departemen Ilmu Gizi FK Undip. Minggu depan itu terakhir dari Jepang ya kalau nggak salah ya Bu Nisa ya, dari Jepang akan mengisi juga terkait bagaimana seorang nutrisionis atau seorang dietitian ya, dan nutrisionis itu bagaimana berbagi peran role di Jepang. Kemarin kita sudah hadirkan dari Filipina ya, hari ini dari Australia Prof Sandra, minggu depan dari Jepang yang terakhir. Baik, ini saya hanya sifatnya perkenalan bahwa kenapa sih prodi profesi itu eh, wajib hadir gitu ya di tengah-tengah kita, karena dengan adanya Undang-Undang Nomor 17 Tahun 2023 Pasal 212 Ayat 2 bahwa memang seorang S1 atau sarjana itu adalah seorang akademis kayak gitu ya, bukan seorang profesi. Nah, yang mendapatkan, yang bisa menjadi tenaga kesehatan ya berarti dia harus menjadi seorang profesi seperti itu. Nah, oleh karena itu ketika memang undang-undang ini keluar, maka kami sebagai program studi ya, sebagai institusi pendidikan itu berusaha untuk menjalankan amanah dari undang-undang tersebut. Artinya kita memberikan fasilitas kepada teman-teman dari program sarjana gizi untuk bisa melanjutkan pendidikan profesinya di jenjang dietitian ini seperti itu, untuk bisa tadi menjadi tenaga kesehatan. Ini adalah akreditasi minimum ya dari program studi kami. Kemarin sudah keluar dari LAMPTKES, kemudian ini SK Rektor ya. Dan keunggulan kami di sini, ciri khas kami adalah di bidang manajemen obesitas ya. Jadi memang kita nanti akan fokus pada manajemen obesitas, dan lulusan kita nanti lebih ke arah komplit ya, komplit di bidang dietetik. Komplit itu apa? Komunikator, profesional, leader, entrepreneur, thinker, dan edukator. Kemudian ini adalah standar kurikulum ya. Jadi nanti teman-teman semua, para mahasiswa yang ataupun para yang mau mendaftar di sini, nanti akan menempuh 38 SKS selama 1 tahun ya, atau 2 semester. Nah, di situ kita bagi pembagian dari sisi mata kuliahnya ya, semester 1 dan semester 2. Kemudian ini terkait dengan obesitas ya. Kenapa obesitas? Karena kita tahu sekarang obesitas prevalensinya terus meningkat. Ya, tahun 2023 itu 1 dari 4 orang dewasa itu sudah obesitas. Dan nanti akan kita sasar atau akan kita berikan perlakuan di sini dari sisi dietnya tentu ya. Ada dari medical nutrition terapinya, kemudian juga kita bantu dengan nutraceutical food atau functional food. Ya, jadi dari sisi lifestyle medication sama healthful diet dan physical activity. Ya, ini expert-expert yang memang para dosen banyak bergelut di bidang itu ya. Baik, kemudian nanti Bapak Ibu, teman-teman mahasiswa yang akan meneruskan profesi di sini, kemarin banyak pertanyaan ini dari mahasiswa, nanti kami praktek kemana aja gitu ya. Nah, jadi yang pertama, tentu kalau dari Undip sudah mengenal Medan ini ya, atau mungkin bahkan di Semarang ya, karena rumah sakitnya serupa saya rasa ya, untuk bisa nanti praktek itu kan di S1 pasti juga ada lahan yang kita pakai bersama ya. Jadi S1 di Semarang ini kan S1 Gizi ada 6 atau 7 prodi ya dengan Undip ini. Jadi ada pertama di Karyadi, kemudian kedua di Adiatma eh, Tugu ya, kemudian di Kudus, di Margono, di Suwondo, Kendal, Kartini, sama RSI Sultan Agung. Ini yang sudah mempunyai MOU ya dengan kami. Kemudian di puskesmasnya di mana aja ya, puskesmas juga nanti kita bekerja sama dengan DKK, itu sudah punya semua puskesmas itu sudah kita punya kerjasama, jadi nanti juga bisa diterjunkan di puskesmas, di klinik tadi, kemudian di olahraga ya. Mungkin kalau di S1 tidak spesifik ya, tidak spesifik untuk ke gizi olahraga. Nah, di sini akan ada mata kuliah ke gizi olahraga juga, jadi ngurus bagaimana sih diet di atlet ya, bagaimana supaya atlet itu bisa prestasinya meningkat dan sebagainya ya. Kemudian juga kita nanti masuk ke catering industri ya, atau ibarat apa, jasa boga gitu ya. Jadi di sini juga ada tambahan, ada perbedaan dari S1. Kalau S1 kan hanya di MPM-nya rumah sakit, ini kita akan ada di catering, penyelenggaraan makan. Nah, sehingga tadi dari mata kuliah yang masing-masing ini kita terjunkan nanti di tiap-tiap wahana tersebut ya. Jadi ada program pelayanan gizi masyarakat nanti masuk ke puskesmas ya. Kemudian nanti asuhan gizi olahraga itu di tempat-tempat olahraga tadi. Kemudian ada manajemen jasa boga sama manajemen rumah sakit. Nah, jadi dua lokasi itu kami memiliki wahana yang berbeda seperti itu. Kemudian kalau gizi klinis saya rasa ini sudah memang sama ya dari yang S1, cuma kita waktunya akan lebih panjang. Ya, jadi perbandingannya itu eh, klinis itu sampai 50%, kemudian nanti 20-20 itu dari MPM sama masyarakatnya ya. Nah, sisanya itu ada pengantar dan dari manajemen obesitas. Ya, kemarin ada beberapa mahasiswa yang bertanya seperti apa gambarannya ya. Nah, itu gambarannya seperti itu. Jadi seperti teman-teman pada pergi PI. Nah, ini waktunya yang akan lebih panjang dan wahananya juga lebih luas gitu. Ya, jadi waktunya di sini akan lebih panjang karena setahun itu akan berada banyak di lahan ya. Jadi bisa di klinik tadi yang tadi cuma sebulan, ini bisa 4 sampai 5 bulan ya. Kemudian di masyarakat juga lebih lama lagi, dan di MPM, catering dan olahraga itu akan lebih panjang waktunya. Baik, ini sarana ya, kita punya beberapa sarana yang sudah komplit ya di Undip. Ya kalau mahasiswa kita juga sudah tahu pasti ya. Jadi ada lab kebugaran, obesitas, di sini ada lab kuliner, ya lab kuliner. Kemudian kami juga punya lab PSG, ada lab counseling, lab ITP ya, dan kemudian kita punya senur. Dan di sini kita akan ke depan itu kita akan membuka klinik weight management. Nah, jadi klinik weight management ini nanti akan difungsikan khusus untuk teman-teman bisa praktek ya. Jadi kita juga akan menerima pasien atau menerima klien ya dari luar untuk bisa kita ajak ke sini, kita eh, berikan program-program bagaimana untuk eh, manajemen berat badannya seperti itu. Ini insya Allah nih Oktober akan dibuka ya, akan di apa akan direnov gitu ya untuk membuat sebuah klinik weight management tersebut. Baik, ini tadi dari sisi keunggulan ya, tentu di Jawa Tengah sebetulnya dari sisi profesi itu di Semarang ini baru 2 prodi ya. Prodi pertama itu di Poltekkes Semarang dan Undip ini yang kedua. Sudah dari semua total S1 itu ada 7 kalau saya nggak salah ya, 7 prodi. Nah itu hanya baru ada 2 yang dietitiannya. Di Jawa Tengah pun juga kalau nggak salah ada baru buka tuh di UMS ya, Dietitian. Jadi di se-Jawa Tengah ini hanya 3 gitu. Nah, memang tentu masing-masing kami punya ciri masing-masing ya, punya ciri dan keunggulan masing-masing. Baik, kemudian ini terkait biaya. Jadi kemarin juga banyak yang bertanya biayanya berapa. Ini adalah biayanya. Jadi SPI itu dibayar 1 kali dengan 10 juta ya pas masuk. Kemudian SPP itu per semester itu 9.500.000. Jadi kalau teman-teman adik-adik mahasiswa melanjutkan itu 29 juta ya sampai dengan lulus. Harapannya sih 1 tahun lulus ya. Jadi karena sudah running per stase itu eh, 1 tahun itu udah selesai ya, nggak mundur jadi 1 setengah. Kalau di S1 kan banyak yang betah gitu ya sampai 5 tahun mungkin. Nah ini nggak bisa profesi itu karena nanti wahananya juga kita padat jadwalnya akan mengikuti stase. Jadi memang 2 semester itu sudah selesai. Nah, nanti ada UKOM ya. Jadi di akhir nanti ada ujian kompetensi. Ini nanti yang bisa tadi menjadikan teman-teman tadi itu seorang profesional ya. Seorang profesional yang diakui kompetensinya seperti itu. Ini adalah persyaratannya. Jadi kemarin kita diskusi lagi, kita buka boleh SKL ya. Jadi teman-teman yang sekarang lagi proses wisuda belum di wisuda ya sehingga belum dapat ijazah dan sebagainya itu bisa pakai SKL. Jadi silakan mengurus SKL. Kemudian syarat-syarat yang lain itu yang jadi pertanyaan kemarin adalah ini ya apa surat sehat ya kalau bisa memang yang terupdate gitu ya termasuk MMPI. MMPI juga kalau bisa yang terupdate. Jadi gunakan sebisa mungkin yang terupdate. Misalnya ada yang dulu udah pernah ngecek 6 bulan, nah itu udah terlalu lama mungkin ya bisa bisa cek lagi kayak gitu. Jadi upayakan yang terupdate. Kemudian surat rekomendasi itu tidak ada format ya. Jadi silakan nanti dosen bisa lihat ke dosen. Kalau memang sudah kerja bisa ke atasan ya, bisa ke atasannya atau ya ke dosen yang dulu bisa sudah alumni belum punya atasan ya, so dia misalnya wira swasta segala macam bisa balik ke dosen pembimbing zaman S1 dulu gitu. Ada pertanyaan apa surat sehat ya tadi surat sehat juga yang terupdate. Dan ini nanti IMT disertakan di surat sehat itu. Jadi nanti ada keterangan dari dokternya IMT normal. Ya ini kita pakai IMT karena memang terkait obesity management tadi ya, weight loss management tadi. Baik, itu mungkin sekarang sudah dibuka ini pmb.undip.ac.id. Silakan teman-teman, adik-adik mahasiswa bisa segera mendaftar ya. Dan saat ini katanya sudah ada 30 sampai 40-an gitu ya. Ini baru dibuka kurang lebih seminggu kalau nggak salah ya. Jadi masih dibuka sampai dengan akhir Oktober. Nah, silakan dipersiapkan kalau memang berminat. Karena ini angkatan pertama, ya tentu kita juga akan senang ya, akan senang teman-teman semua bisa bergabung dan biasanya kan angkatan pertama itu apa prestisius gitu ya. Itu Bu Nisa ini kan angkatan pertama juga di S1 ya Bu Nisa ya. Nah, itu kan hebat gitu ya, yang hebat-hebat. Nah, mudah-mudahan harapannya kita bisa buka bareng-bareng ini dan oh ya, ada juga pertanyaan nanti akreditasi segala macam gitu ya. Ini kami akan berupaya nanti di tengah tahun itu kita akan melakukan akreditasi. Ya, jadi nanti kita akreditasi. Jadi nanti sebelum teman-teman lulus itu sudah keluar akreditasi yang terupdate gitu. Jadi minimal ada apa yang B gitu ya atau sangat baik gitu kan. Nah, itu kita kejar, dan itu memang tanggung jawab Prodi akan sebelum meluluskan akan mengupgrade lagi dari sisi akreditasinya. Itu mungkin yang bisa saya sampaikan. Silakan mampir ke website ini, nanti bisa dilihat aturan-aturannya, syarat-syaratnya. Demikian Bu Nisa, mungkin paparan singkat dari saya. Terima kasih sekali lagi. Silakan bergabung ya, bergabung dengan kami. Kita bareng-bareng menjalankan tadi ya, berusaha untuk menjalankan amanah undang-undang, dan tentu teman-teman punya punya poin plus ya ketika memang sudah menjadi dietitian, dan tadi sudah dipaparkan Prof Sandra tadi ya, dengan ada Bu Bu Fitri dan teman-teman yang lain yang sudah pada dietitian. Itu tentu kan memang di luar negeri sana itu dietitian gitu ya, dan di Indonesia ini yang memang kita agak ketinggalan dengan dietitian ini, dan sekarang dengan adanya undang-undang ya, ini memang menjadi tantangan tersendiri ya untuk kita untuk bisa mencapai sampai dengan profesi tersebut ya. Dokter, perawat itu sudah ya. Nah, ini gizi juga ada profesi dietitiannya. Mudah-mudahan bermanfaat, dan sampai ketemu di sini ya, di Undip. Saya kembalikan ke Bu Nisa,
Baik,
kurang lebih ya mohon maaf. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam. Terima kasih pada Bapak Ahmad Syauqi, SKZ MPH PhD untuk perkenalan di Profesi Dietisien Undip. Selanjutnya kita akan masuk ke sesi tanya jawab. Saya akan membuka 2 sesi tanya jawab. Untuk sesi pertama, saya akan membacakan 3 pertanyaan yang masuk ke dalam Google Form. Baik, kita akan buka terlebih dahulu. Pertanyaan dari Kak Najah dari UB. Apakah jika sebelum memulai tahun ajaran atau saat baru mulai ingin mengundurkan diri, apakah ada penalti?
Penalti ini di sana itu ada surat ya. Saya sebetulnya juga harus apa di LP2MP, karena kaitannya juga ini kan seleksinya terpusat Bu Nisa. Jadi ada aturan-aturan yang memang harus dibaca sama pelamar, dan itu informasi itu secara utuh sebetulnya sudah ada di websitenya PMB itu, gitu Bu Nisa. Mungkin secara teknis detail sekali seperti itu, mohon maaf saya tidak bisa menjawab, tapi saya rasa informasi itu ada semua di websitenya PMB Undip, aturan-aturan main yang berlaku seperti itu. Itu mungkin Bu Nisa.
Baik, baik, terima kasih. Mungkin karena terpusat dan um,
Iya, karena semuanya,
melibatkan semua
iya,
dengan
di,
aturan yang sama ya Pak ya.
betul, satu universitas aturannya sama Bu Nisa. Jadi ini
Baik,
bukan dari profesi aja, tapi semuanya sama.
baik. Pertanyaan kedua dari Kak Aiza Undip. Persyaratan IMT kalau lebih dari 25, apakah langsung gugur di administrasi? Bagaimana Pak Ahmad Syauqi?
Ya, baik, ini bagus juga ya pertanyaannya. Jadi sebetulnya tidak ada langsung gugur di administrasi, tidak. Jadi memang eh, kan kalau nggak salah biaya pendaftaran itu 750 ya untuk profesi ini. Nah, itu sudah menjadi hak teman-teman semua untuk menjalankan semua rangkaian tesnya. Seperti itu. Jadi nanti tidak ada seleksi awal, seleksi kedua tidak ada. Jadi semua yang mendaftar itu akan masuk semua rangkaian proses seleksi. Seperti itu. Nah, nanti di akhir baru kita akan lihat siapa yang gugur dan siapa yang tidak. Seperti itu Bu Nisa. Jadi termasuk IMT, surat keterangan sehat, MMPI apa ya, yang lain-lain itu silakan dimasukkan dulu, nanti sama tes semua rangkaian itu masuk semua. Seperti itu. Nanti di akhir baru kita akan umumkan siapa yang memang lolos, siapa yang tidak lolos. Karena dengan membayar itu kan artinya semua berhak untuk mendapatkan rangkaian tes itu. Gitu.
Fasilitas. tes
Iya,
itu.
itu
Iya,
bagian dari fasilitas yang Undip berikan karena dengan teman-teman membayar itu semua sudah jadi satu di rangkaian tes itu.
oke baik. Ada pertanyaan selanjutnya dari Mbak Nadia. Mulai tahun ajaran baru itu bulan apa Pak Syoki? Dan pembayaran UKT mulai bulan apa? Apakah jika sudah keterima langsung bayar UKT atau bagaimana? Tahun
Kalau
ajaran baru berarti bulan
tahunnya
apa Pak Syoki?
bulan Januari. Januari ini kita tahun ajaran
Januari.
baru. Iya. Masalah
Baik,
UKT itu juga serentak itu se-universitas. Jadi
oke,
ikut alur yang ada di universitas nanti.
oke,
Kapan harus membayarnya dan tentu sebelum perkuliahan ya biasanya ya untuk pembayaran itu. Tapi detail waktunya kapan itu nanti pengumumannya ada di websitenya PMB itu dan nanti tentu ketika lolos kan ada tahapan-tahapan pengumuman selanjutnya. Tapi kalau planning kita Januari ya. Jadi kita setahun itu mudah-mudahan terlaksana terus ya.
hmm,
Setahun itu kita buka 2 kali. Jadi di
oke,
bulan Januari untuk semester genap dan di bulan Agustus ya di semester ganjil. Gitu, Bu
baik.
Nisa.
Baik, berarti kalau misal tadi menyambungkan dengan pertanyaan Mbak Aiza tentang IMT, misalkan nih apabila eh, penutupan pendaftaran itu bulan apa Pak Syoki? Jadi perlukah melakukan
Diet.
pengaturan makanan
Iya.
untuk eh, menuju ke target terdekat yaitu eh, mendekati penutupan sehingga eh, memenuhi persyaratan dari eh, daftaran dari profesi. Mungkin seperti itu ya Pak.
Iya, kalau penutupan itu ntar saya sambil buka ya
Iya,
websitenya Bu Nisa sebentar. Iya, ini kalau penutupan akhir Oktober ya, akhir Oktober.
Oktober ya. Jadi
Akhir
sekitar 1 bulan lah ya.
masih ada ini 1 bulan ini kalau mau coba berdiet masih bisa ya, masih bisa.
Pertimbangkan
Ya,
beberapa opsi ya Pak ya.
iya betul. Kita 30 Oktober ya, 30 Oktober nanti mulai tes itu kalau nggak akhir Oktober atau nggak awal November itu kita mulai mulai rangkaian tesnya ya, sedangkan pendaftaran itu masih dibuka ini sampai akhir Oktober.
Baik. Kemudian ada pertanyaan selanjutnya dari Laura. Mbak Laura, apakah tes substansi berupa praktek atau tertulis? Apakah perlu membawa alat dan bahan sendiri, contohnya medline, buku foto makanan, dan lain-lain saat tes?
Oke. Oh,
Untuk
ini
tes
ada
substansi, Pak.
iya, maaf ini sebelumnya tidak ada penalti tadi ya yang mau mundur
Oh,
tadi itu ya.
baik.
Jadi kalau sudah bayar SPP tapi itu sudah tidak bisa ditarik lagi alias hangus kayak gitu. Ya, tapi tidak ada penalti gitu.
Oke, baik.
Terus tadi
Itu ada
apa
ajakan
nih?
untuk
Apa
Mbak
Bu Nisa
Najah.
tadi?
Tentang tes substansi berupa praktek atau tertulis, Pak.
Oh,
Dan
tesnya
apakah perlu
ya.
membawa alat dan bahan sendiri?
Baik, ini bagus ya. Jadi tesnya itu kita akan menyelenggarakan secara offline ya. Offline. Yang pertama itu nanti ada tes substansi materi tentang profesi tentu ya, dietitian. Kemudian itu soalnya vignette ya ini eh, sudah sudah siap ya nanti akan mengerjakan itu teman-teman. Kemudian juga ada tes dasar yang dilakukan sama Undip ya ada beberapa tes itu kayak tes apa psikologis gitu ya apa namanya itu psikotes gitu ya psikotes kemudian ada tes bahasa juga ya bahasa Inggris itu udah formatnya Undip. Kemudian kami ada tes tambahan ya ada tes tambahan yaitu semacam OSCE gitu. Jadi nanti calon mahasiswa itu kita lakukan ujian juga secara langsung ya jadi ngukur antropometri, misalnya bagaimana, mengukur asupan makan itu gimana gitu ya. Kemudian nanti cara konseling gitu, memberikan konseling itu seperti apa ya. Itu akan kita lakukan juga secara langsung ya, dengan nanti ada yang apa
Penguji,
subjeknya gitu ya. Ada pengujinya, ada
probandus.
subjeknya. Iya, seperti itu Bu Nisa. Dan memang offline, diselenggarakan offline. Jadi siap-siap teman-teman yang nanti mendaftar itu akan sekitar 2 hari ya. Nanti informasi
Oke,
itu sepertinya harusnya sudah ada di PMB itu ya, di PMB.
baik.
Jadi nanti tinggal diikuti alurnya.
Oke,
Ya sekalian kalau
baik.
yang dari luar kota bisa adaptasi dulu di Semarang ya. Bisa adaptasi
Betul
di
sekali.
Semarang ya.
Baik, ini ada pertanyaan selanjutnya Pak Isoki dari Mbak Samaroh dari Undip. Untuk outline rencana penelitian itu mengenai apa ya? Apakah nanti akan ada tugas akhir seperti tesis atau skripsi?
Iya, baik. Ini bagus. Jadi outline itu silahkan dibuat aja, semua kan ada di syarat daftar gitu ya. Itu dibuat seperti teman-teman membuat rencana ya, rencana misalnya itu 1 lembar ya, atau ada mau ngapain sih, misalnya bikin formula formula
Enteral,
enteral misalnya ya, untuk yang kalorinya rendah misalnya seperti itu, atau bikin produk makanan kalori rendah. Nah itu tinggal dibikin outline seperti itu, kemudian nantinya ya itu bisa diproyeksikan sebagai tugas akhir gitu kan. Nah, tugas akhir itu memang tadi ada mata kuliah manajemen obesitas itu juga bagian dari tugas akhir. Jadi nanti dari yang dilakukan teman-teman lakukan itu nanti akan dijadikan semacam karya tulis ilmiah, tapi ini tidak semenakutkan skripsi ya. Mungkin tidak semenakutkan teman-teman di waktu S1 dulu gitu ya. Ya, ini kan semacam laporan ya, semacam laporan tapi yang dikemas menjadi semacam karya tulis ilmiah, jadi laporan ilmiah gitu. Nah, ini kalau nanti kita kendor skripsi apa nanti malah jadi khawatir gitu ya. Tapi bukan ya, ini bukan. Karena teman-teman di sini bukan ranahnya akademik, jadi teman-teman ini ranahnya praktisi tadi. Ya, seorang praktisi itu kan akan lebih banyak mereka menangani pasien untuk bisa mahir gitu ya. Bukan lagi mahir untuk menulis. Nah, kalau mahir untuk menulis itu sudah selesai di sarjana dulu gitu kan. Atau mungkin kalau mau nambah lagi nanti ke S2. Nah, tapi kalau di sini ini ranahnya adalah praktisi ya. Jadi itu semacam laporan ya, laporan tapi yang dikemas tetap dengan bahasa ilmiah. Artinya itu ada referensinya, ada dasarnya gitu kan. Tapi yang simple bisa tadi dari yang produksi makanan ataupun sampai ke pemberian diet ya, itu nanti dibuat aja laporannya, dibuat studi kasusnya, terus dibahas di situ secara ilmiah ya. Tapi lagi-lagi saya ini kan tekankan ini tidak saya menakutkan skripsi gitu ya untuk tugas akhirnya ini.
tidak semenakutkan skripsi ya Pak.
Ya,
Baik, alhamdulillah itu nilai plus sehingga memotivasi untuk membuat outline. Kemudian ada penanya selanjutnya dari Zahra. Untuk CV, apakah ada format tertentu seperti ATS atau bebas?
nah itu harus cek di situ ya, harus cek di apa PMB itu Bu Nisa, apakah ada
Oke,
format atau tidak. Kalau memang tidak ada format, silahkan.
bebas.
Bebas saja, yang penting bisa kebaca ya apa yang mau ditonjolkan di situ, silahkan dituliskan. Jadi
Baik,
semuanya bisa membaca, kalau masalah format dan sebagainya itu bisa membuka website LP2MP tadi ya, PMB itu.
baik. Bila tidak ada berarti langsung saja ya Pak ya,
Mm-mm.
bebas.
J.
Kemudian pertanyaan dari Mbak Rania Ulia. Untuk tes MMPI dan bebas narkoba, apakah boleh dilakukan di RSND? atau harus ke RSUP Karyadi?
Oh boleh, RSND boleh. Ya,
Oke,
justru dari Undip memang ada kerjasama itu. Kalau yang prodi lain itu yang PPDS ya itu ke RSND. Kalau saya nggak salah itu memang langsung ke RSND. Kalau di sini sebetulnya nggak harus ke RSND, tapi kalau mau itu boleh sekali nggak
boleh.
masalah. Iya,
Baik. Berarti keduanya pun juga tidak masalah ya
nggak
Pak,
masalah,
RSND
nggak
atau
masalah.
RSUP
Iya,
Karyadi juga nggak apa-apa.
Kalau nggak salah itu kan aturannya rumah sakit pemerintah Bu Nisa. Jadi
Oke,
silahkan rumah sakit pemerintah di tempatnya masing-masing gitu ya, itu boleh. Di
baik.
luar kota misalnya atau di luar Jawa, silakan di
Ya,
tempatnya masing-masing.
baik. Berarti bawa ke sini cuman untuk ujian saja ya Pak ya, tidak perlu
J.
sampai uji apa namanya tes kesehatan atau bebas narkoba di Semarang. Baik, sepertinya itu adalah pertanyaan terakhir yang saya bacakan untuk sesi ini. Alhamdulillah, terima kasih Pak Syafri yang telah menjawab pertanyaan peserta yang sangat antusias. Dan, eh, saya juga ingin menyampaikan ringkasan eh, dari materi sebelumnya, yakni Prof. Sandra hari ini, yakni ada perbedaan antara dietitian dan nutritionist di Australia, dan semua dietitian adalah nutrisionis, namun nutrisionis tanpa dietetic course tidak akan menjadi dietitian. Kemudian Prof. Sandra juga menyampaikan private sector memiliki peminat lebih banyak eh, dalam hal proporsi dibandingkan public sector. Kemudian apa yang dilakukan dietitian, yakni menjadi bagian dari tim kesehatan di rumah sakit, mengukur kebutuhan gizi, dan lain-lain. Selain itu juga di area komunitas dan industri makanan. Kemudian kesempatan bekerja atau berperan di dietitian terbuka sesuai SDGs. Jadi tidak perlu uh, berpikir terlalu pelik ya, karena ternyata pekerjaan dietitian itu sangat terbuka. Kemudian perubahan fokus yang dialami oleh dietitian yang terjadi di Australia, yakni lebih fokus pada dulu fokus pada critical care, dan sekarang beralih pada aged care, mental health, dan disability service. Kegiatan online juga meningkat sebagai efek dari COVID-19. Kemudian AI menjadi tandingan, jadi oleh karena itu perlunya pemberian asuhan secara individu untuk menandingi AI. Kemudian tren di Australia, yakni mengurangi dietitian di rumah sakit untuk proporsinya dan menambah di sektor private. Kemudian kesimpulan yang terakhir, yakni dietitian di Aussie telah berkembang dari tahun-tahun sebelumnya. Bapak Ibu peserta, informasi lengkap terkait prodi Profesi Dietitian dapat dipantau pada laman PMB Universitas Diponegoro dan laman Dietitian Universitas Diponegoro. Kami menunggu Bapak Ibu bergabung di prodi Profesi Dietitian Universitas Diponegoro. Saat ini sampailah kita di penghujung acara. Saya sebagai moderator hari ini menyampaikan terima kasih untuk antusias Bapak dan Ibu seluruh peserta hari ini. Dan saya mohon maaf apabila terdapat kesalahan kata dan sikap selama memandu acara ini. Sampai berjumpa di webinar series minggu depan. Selamat sore dan salam semangat. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Terima kasih Bu Nisa.
Terima kasih Pak Syauki,
Ya, terima
Ibu
kasih
Fitri,
Bu Fitri, Pak Pujo. Terima
Pak
kasih.
Pujo, terima kasih.
Semangat, semangat, semangat.
Ya.